Hello, everyone. Welcome to Telling Tales. I'm Matt, your storyteller for the evening. We make atmospheric tabletop role playing games and stream them for you here on Twitch. You lucky, lucky people. Before we go any further, it is tradition around these parts to introduce our stream manager for the evening, Steve, who'll be I was going to say bumbling away behind the scenes, but that's really harsh.
Charming.
Who will be working professionally away behind the scenes, moving around cams, moving around images, moderating the chat, all that good stuff. How are you tonight, Stephen?
Oh, I'm very well, thank you. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. So Steve's mainly here right now so that you know what he looks like in case he pops up and you don't panic that the stream has just been invaded by, well, someone called Steve. Yeah, there we go. Fun.
Cool.
So a bunch of promo to get through before we head into the game. There's a bunch of links down below, links to our Twitch, links to our YouTube. You're watching on one, why not check out the other? If you're watching on Twitch, our YouTube has all of our VODs from all of our series and all our one-shots and stuff. So there's hours and hours and hours and hours of entertainment there for you if you like what you see. There's a link to our Discord. You can come join us there and talk to us about all things telling tales, all things role-playing. There's a link to our Patreon if you want to support us further. Then there's a bunch of tasty rewards there, like character creation videos, backstage info, all that good stuff. And there's also links to our social media, should you do the social media thing, which we generally advise you not to do. Let's also talk about the weekly series we run. We run 3 weekly series from Monday through to Wednesday. Each of them is at 8 o'clock BST. Mondays is Call of Cthulhu, which is starting up a new arc next week with a couple of new players. Tuesdays is Vampire, that's what you're watching. And Wednesdays is Simbaroom. Also at the moment, we are running a fortnightly different Simbaroom game over on the Free League Publishing Twitch channel. That started this Sunday just gone, and it will be back in a week on Sunday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon BST. And that's over on Free League Publishing. It's good stuff. We run monthly one-shots on the first Saturday of every month, so check those out over on our YouTube. You can watch all the ones we've already done. This year we've done Fiasco and Merkborg and Troika and Alien. Yes, that's all of them. And I can exclusively reveal on this very stream the next one of them, which is going ahead on Saturday, June the 5th, will be The Expanse. So if you're a fan of that setting from the books or the series, then maybe it's the one shot for you. And I'm not even running that one. That one's being run by someone else. Someone else that you've never seen run a role-playing game before. Oh, but I don't want to drop all the wonderful surprises in one stream. So we'll leave the promo there and move on to Vampire. Let's bring on our first player, and our first player tonight is Neill. Neill plays Alex Taylor Brown, our resident Malkavian Prophet of Doom. How are you doing, Neill, and what kind of week did Alex have last week?
I am quite well. I think I am much better than Alex right now in particular. Alex had a rather interesting set of encounters. First, they encountered Gilbert, their primogen, who suggested that there was a plot out to kill all Malkavians, that Alex should be concerned, and then gave Alex a gift, which was a gun. In the open street, as you do. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, it was not a plastic gun as Gilbert is used to carrying about, but a real gun. So there's that. And then after such an encounter with such a paranoid individual, maybe it was infectious through the cobweb, but on the way back to the haven, spotted some rather unusual activity in the building opposite our haven, which caused Alex to what some would say fall into a paranoid delusion, what Alex would describe as a perfectly rational response to the stimulus provided to them, along with the various messages filtering through the cobweb. So they told everyone about it and then went inside to build a fort to provide mystical defense inside the conference room.
Absolutely. And, well, I mean, Alex is back this week, and clearly, therefore, their fort worked.
Let's be clear. Everyone's still here. Everyone
Absolutely.
benefited.
all down to the quick, decisive actions of Alex Taylor Brown. And then someone else had an actual investigation on what was going on over the road there. Let's bring on Justin. Justin plays Mandrill, our resident Nosferatu craftsperson and woodworker, and in this case, investigator of dodgy workmen.
Investigating, that's, very generous term. Mandrill broke into the building and noticed that the work being done by the workers was actually just drilling holes into a board for no purpose whatsoever. So Mandrill did a bit of intimidation and tore out the fuse box of the building such that the lights and power went out, and then she slunk off into the night, and the workmen, terrified, hopefully, fled the building in response.
Yes, absolutely. And while they fled, you did manage to note, I believe, the company name on the side of the workman's van, which was Heritage Construction. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. That's what's in my notes.
Yeah.
And we found out later.
Let's say that because it doesn't matter that it's out of time there. So go ahead and
later on we found out from a reliable source that this belongs to one Henry Mears, a notable Ventru landlord in London,
who is not too fond of your coterie as a whole, and specifically not too fond of Alex Taylor Brown.
No.
So, more went on in the last session before the overall plot started bashing forwards violently. And speaking of violent bashing, let's bring on John, our third player. John plays Arthur Norris, Ventru, mercantile pharmacologist. What was going on with Arthur's week?
So Arthur's week started fine enough with a visit to his dealer, who reported that everything was fine with that troublesome Terence that he'd spoke to and told us to leave him alone, and there were no problems whatsoever. And then
I hate to correct you, but surely he's your supplier. You're the dealer.
I thought I said supplier.
No, you said dealer.
Oh, well, he deals to me.
Sure, it's just all just a chain of dealing.
Yep. It's all just one big pyramid scheme. And upon leaving the club, perfectly happy that the matter had completely resolved itself, Arthur got a tire iron to the ribcage as Terence and two cronies had lain in wait for him to spring an attack. Arthur partly fought them off, partly convinced at least one of them to run away, and then convinced Terence to join forces, maybe, sort of, / intimidated him into doing whatever Arthur said, and may have accidentally murdered one of his friends.
I feel like accidentally is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence. Arthur stamped on an incapacitated man's neck, killing him almost instantly, and that's why we're going to start the session with the remorse roll. But before we do that, let's bring on the final member of our party, Pierre. Speaking of heavy lifting, Pierre's going to do a lot of the heavy lifting of the kind of all the plot stuff that happened at the end of the last session. So he plays Oscar Kane, our resident Tremere antiquarian, and just wonderful guy. Take a look at him. Who wouldn't want to hang out with Oscar? So, Pierre, tell us everything that happened at the end.
Sure.
In exhaustive detail.
Okay. Well, there was a couple of things. I mean, we have been tasked with various sort of threats to us. And so at some point I entrusted an envelope to my friend Arshad. And then we were led to various tunnels by Z, or is he Z? I'm not sure.
He's Z.
He's
Z.
We're led by Z, the kind of fish person Nosferatu.
Yeah, he's kind of a skinhead Antifa fish person. That's
roughly
his vibe.
yeah, and he led us this way and that through various tunnels. Mandrill bartered with my blood and received some
Very
information,
sensibly.
aforementioned. And then we entered a massive stone chamber filled with shadows. And out of the shadows were many figures in like a gallery, and then in the middle of them was a tall figure who was pale with like a sort of black velvet cloak, and he introduced himself as the King of Shadows. And yeah, so we have to present our case to this
absolutely
individual.
do. And the only thing I think I'd add to that is that towards the very end, you found out who's been sending that owl to watch over you.
Yes, the owl swooped down and landed on his arm.
On his outstretched arm.
I would just like to say I did dress for the occasion with my owl
with
t-shirt.
an owl shirt. Good.
Taking a page out of your book.
Yes. Well, I have worn a claptrap one, which is certainly less thematic. But there we go. Yeah. So, with that in mind, let's pick up exactly where we left off, folks. As I say, the Court of Shadows is around you. The King of Shadows stands on a not a stone platform, as I said. The chamber is kind of 2 tiers, and you are ankle deep in water, kind of looking up at him. You can't really make out his features all that well, only that his skin seems very very pale, almost kind of like translucent and glowingly so. Good words.
He hasn't seen the sun in a while.
He has not seen the sun in a while, for sure. And he has spoken that you stand before the Court of Shadows. And then there is a... he doesn't immediately say anything else, and the room is just full of kind of the echoes of his last statement, together with a sort of susurrus underneath it of the... you just hear kind of voices. You can't quite hear what they're saying, but kind of voices kind of words half on the edge of hearing. They're just maybe talking about you, or asking each other what could they possibly have to say to the king. But you can't hear these things. They're just like,
general murmurings. Yeah,
background video game recordings sort of thing. I'm sure that was a word, but I can't quite perceive it. You have the floor of the court.
So, have they just answered a direct question then? Or
No direct question. Just they're waiting for you to... You've come here with a proposal. Speak your proposal.
Although I think Mandrill is ready to take the lead if no one else is going to... probably look to Arthur to see if Arthur is about to step forward and make a statement.
Arthur was about to step forward and make at least an opening, very flattering statement. Giving a bow, unless that is seen as too gauche, and saying, "Your Majesty, thank you for giving us the privilege of this audience."
The whispers kind of rise slightly in frequency and volume, and then die down again. The king, it's like looking at a statue. I mean, in point of fact, anyone who has dots in Animal Ken, why don't you roll Resolve plus Animal Ken?
As of my newly spent experience before the start of this session, I now have 1 dot in
Animal Ken. We'll just say difficulty 3.
Does that mean we'll see fewer bestial failures on hunting rolls?
Yes.
Could be.
Shame.
So it's Animal Ken plus...
Resolve.
I was rolling 4 dice, and I got 3 successes. So
wonderful.
Success.
I am about to roll 5 die. I get 4 successes.
Okay, well, I mean, perhaps it's a stretch to say this is just for people with Animal Ken, but even more so, someone who can hold a huge barn owl on their outstretched hand without moving for a long stretch of time. I mean, that it might not seem it, but that's an act of considerable strength.
Okay.
And control.
And theatre.
Yeah, yes, even more so. Yes, there is no response from the King of Shadows to your... Clearly, he is waiting for the actual proposition.
Cool.
I'm going to step back and also roll my humanity.
Oh yes, that remorse roll. Let's have that. And while you're doing that, I believe you were going to say something there, Pierre.
Oh, I was sort of going to. One of the things I was wondering, like, can I look at the gallery and see if I can actually make out any specific figures, or if it is all just shadows and half-formed things?
Sure.
Like,
Are you using anything to do this? Because I think you have a power that might be useful.
I do have sense the unseen.
Okay.
So I don't know.
But you have to make sense the unseen can be a roll, right? So why don't you make a roll for that? And I believe it's usually either opposed. Obviously, if it's obfuscate, it's opposed by that pool. I am going to quickly in my head imagine what the King of Shadows pool might be for that and assign you a difficulty. So I think, I think that's and here's an interesting thing about V5. In giving you opposed rolls like this and giving you a target number, it interestingly does drop quite a lot of information about what the potency of something you're dealing with.
You can on Sense the Unseen, you can just call for a blind roll, which is just,
and I just ask you what you got.
You say,
sure,
or even like you can tell me to roll 7 dice or whatever, or
sure, absolutely. In that case, you know what? Just go ahead and roll.
Okay, so it's wits plus all specs or resolve plus all specs, but those are both the same.
It's resolve normally if you're actively looking, and wits if you're normally.
I think I'm actively looking, so that's 4 dice. So I don't know what the difficulty is.
No,
I got 0 successes.
I will say good luck.
I got 0 successes.
Okay. I guess we could. I mean, did you get any ones on reds?
I did not get. It wasn't like a potential bestial or anything like that.
Cool. Yeah, you have no idea whatsoever. So there is silence again, and Arthur Norris has stepped back. Apparently,
then Mandrill will step forward.
Sure. I imagine Arthur thinks this is the Nosferatu. I mean, it's the offer from the Nosferatu Elder, right? So
from Nosferatu in the sewers, presumably to a Nosferatu, probably best delivered by a Nosferatu.
Yeah,
we'll see, I guess.
That's actually also something worth rolling for, but we'll let Mandrill talk first because I don't want to just keep interrupting.
So Mandrill probably going to start off by introducing herself, saying, I'm Mandrill from the Haven Down Street in Mayfair. I've come to London recently from the catacombs of Paris, and then before that, the tunnels underneath Barcelona. And the tunnels that I find in London are truly terrifying to behold. My sire, Puck, has released me to London to undertake a very important mission. We are here representing the Camarilla, trying to fight against the Inquisition and recover safe spaces for the kindred around London. And having the ability to move freely within your tunnels would be extremely helpful and important to our cause. I say that. I think it's probably worth noting that Mandrill also has one status, which is mostly tied to her being a descendant of Zelios. So I don't know how much weight that
You're
carries.
Considered ancillary. I suppose if the king is familiar with Nosferatu, there's an outside chance he may know of you or your heritage.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've made that statement. I think Arthur said an interesting thing before you did that. Anyone, and I realise that this opens the gate to anyone, if you think your character would be pondering in any way or assuming in any way that the King of Shadows must be Nosferatu because they're holding court here below London, you can go ahead and give me an intelligence plus occult roll. And the difficulty of that, I'm not going to make it too hard. I mean, if you're Nosferatu, the difficulty is 2. And if you're not Nosferatu, the difficulty is 4.
Okay.
But obviously, if you don't feel like you would be even pondering that at the moment,
I
then,
feel like
you know,
me as a player definitely was pondering that, and
Sure.
and I feel like Oscar also is a ponderous kind of fellow.
Did you say
Alex,
pondering or assumed?
Sorry? Yeah, I mean, you, as was saying that Arthur thought that they were Nosferatu, I think you can go ahead and make the roll, yeah.
Can
Okay.
I get any bonus dice for being a Nosferatu?
You already had
Yeah.
your difficulty lowered to 2.
Oh no! I failed.
I got 5 successes. It's a
I
fine
was
dice.
beaten and only had 4 successes.
Can I choose not to, or is it because no, that doesn't make sense because I would have been thinking it. Never mind. I do not
You just
succeed.
don't want to make the roll because of your hunger.
I would have been rolling 2 hunger dice, and that's it.
Well, do you have any occult?
0.
Well, it occurs to both Alex Taylor Brown and Oscar Kane that while Nosferatu obviously have a wide variety of appearances, and this individual certainly has a very distinctive, not particularly human seeming appearance, or at least mortal human appearance, all Nosferatu aren't pleasant to look at. There's nothing unpleasant about this man's appearance and demeanor. In fact, one could say he's strikingly beautiful, what you can see. This kind of like almost reflective alabaster skin.
But they might still have some powerful obfuscate which allows them to...
Oh, absolutely, yes. Assuming that this is this individual's actual appearance.
Yeah.
But, just saying.
Based on how
Just
they
thought it was relevant. How did that remorse roll go?
I
Nothing
rolled
else.
1 success, so that's a pass, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So you can just get rid of the stain. The King of Shadows stands for a moment after Mandrill stops talking. Again, completely stock still. Everything you said was accurate, right, Justin? You are
I believe
from
so.
Paris. You are
Yeah,
from
Paris is where I spent most of my time.
Please don't break out into Fresh Prince.
No.
You, the King of Shadows stands stock still for a moment and then says, "There are terms which could be met. What bargaining power do you hold with your leaders?" In other words, am I to assume that things you agree to here will be held?
Our
I think at
our
this point
masters
I'm in.
will hear all reasonable demands. I'm sure that whatever agreement we come to, they will hold by.
Well then, you, your companions, your mission will be allowed full access to the underground of London. Any areas I do not wish you to enter, you would not find in any case. In return, should your mission succeed, my domain will be recognized and respected. I shall rule as Prince of London below, and equal to any Prince of London above. I will gladly grant territory if it is asked for down here, presumably to Clan Nosferatu and perhaps others. But I will be their prince, and they will respect my laws. These are my terms. Any breaking of this pledge once made will result in retribution from the entire Court of Shadows, as well as our agents. And no member of your mission or the Camarilla would be safe henceforth beneath London. During this entire... He hasn't moved a muscle apart from to talk.
I'm gonna turn around to the group and say, do we think that they'll go for it?
I don't think so.
They don't even seem happy about a Prince of London above.
The king did say once the mission has succeeded.
It's true.
One has to assume that once it does, they would, a prince would be established.
Yeah.
The King of Shadows has an advantage in that he already holds domain. I fear that this is a substantial starting point which he has over any of our mission or any other significant kindred in the city. Perhaps he could be persuaded to use some of his considerable efforts. I'm saying this not whisperingly, but I'm kind of assuming that he's listening anyway.
He's overhearing,
Perhaps he could be persuaded to provide assistance to get to that point, as if he provides evidence of his power, I am sure that even the most dedicated adversary to his plans would fall beneath the demonstrations.
I think.
Do we have to bring this to the elders first? Do you think we can't agree to something this big on our own, can we?
I don't think we can afford to bring it to the elders. I think they sent us down here to broker a deal.
We have this audience. We don't know what it would cost to ask for another.
Perhaps we should accept his side, but demand more.
That's a good point, Oscar. How about if we ask?
Yeah. I'm
not
just
only
sort of agreeing with Alex.
Not only for support in getting to the completion of our mission, but once the mission is established, once a prince in London is established, that the two princes will work together in harmony and not against one another. What do you think?
I know of.
Can I weirdly, and I'm just going to ask Arthur to do this, just because. I say Arthur. Has anyone else? I can't remember your backgrounds. Did anyone else spend any time in Germany? I don't think they did, but I think
not specifically. No,
as in vampire Germany. So Oscar definitely hasn't. But Arthur, can you weirdly give me a intelligence plus probably is politics still a stat in this edition?
Yeah, I think so.
Yep.
Politics roll, please.
Yes.
Difficulty
3 dice.
I did briefly visit
3.
Mandrel's backstory has a brief visit to Berlin.
Yeah, but I if it's a brief visit, I won't bother. Yeah. It's mainly the Ventrunus that's getting him this role.
Nope.
No, never mind.
No successes.
Never mind. Yeah. So is the general idea to propose yes if you help us more?
I believe
yeah. And Mandrel's specific extra bit, well, one of the extra bits would be the coordination of the like a truce, I guess, between the princes above and below.
And Alex was suggesting actually providing aid in retaking London.
Yeah.
Well, which one of the coteries is going to express any of this to the king?
We have an idea.
I mean,
I would turn, seeing the looks of my coterie, and with my 0 social stats, address.
I mean, if you want, I can give it a go.
No, Oscar. I think I've got this. Yeah. So Mandrel turns and says, "I think we can agree to those terms. However, once the princedoms are established and recognised, it would be essential that we agree that the princes work in cooperation with one another and don't seek to undermine each other moving forward. If that can be agreed, and if you could offer us any help or support in retaking London, then I believe the elders will agree to recognise your princedom."
There is a kind of moment of a beat of silence before the king says, "Done." And all around the Court of Shadows, you can hear 1,000 different voices. Some of them oddly cadenced, some of them truly bizarre, just all saying, "Done, done, 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 done."
Well,
the owl on his arm lets out a loud screech, and the king says, "And what aid do you require?"
Well, for a start,
The King of Shadows and his court undoubtedly have great information on the mortal powers, the Second Inquisition, and their locations and their forces and their weaknesses. They are, of course, a shared adversary to all of us. So any information on them, I'm sure, would be a very good start. None of us can be prince without them gone.
An agent will be sent. Information will be granted.
very gracious.
The court hopes that you do not believe that the mortals are the only obstacle in your way. The shadows all along the kind of galleries and all in the deeper corners start to kind of rise up around, and that flickering light further back behind the King of Shadows starts to dim. You can see kind of his form. He's not moving, but the shadows seem to be kind of pulling around him and drawing, and everything is turning dark around you. You feel you might have one last chance to say something before the Court of Shadows retreats.
One more thing. I assume that as we have brokered this very valuable deal with a future prince, that we would be granted perhaps some special consideration when it comes to pass for perhaps domains to be granted to us. Or
when these things come to pass, discussions may be had. For now, Down Street is yours.
Thank you. Sorry, guys.
I definitely wasn't expecting Oscar to just go, "Oh, I want a favor."
By the way, power. I want power, by the way. Just so you know what kind of person I am. I'd like a lot of power.
The darkness washes up around you. You can still see each other. You can still see the area around you, but everything else is fading, and the flickering light is now gone, and all that happened, like the court of shadows is retreating slowly away. You can hear like a rustle, and all the sound of them moving, the sound of whispers, and more of the whispers are more coherent to you than they were before. And you hear lots of just snippets of voices around you, in those odd tones, just saying, "Beware, beware! You must know. Warn them. No. Yes. Look to the north."
Interesting.
And then the shadows. The thing is, the shadows retreating actually increases the light in the room. In an odd way, because then normal light kind of flushes back up. A couple of old neon kind of like light fixtures on the walls kind of flicker and then start up. You are in the chamber alone, apart from Z, who's visible back at the entrance, just kind of leaning against the wall and sort of biting at something horrible on his hand. Neill, did you want to say something? Sorry.
Yes, but it's fine.
Okay. Nothing we can retcon?
Well, I was just going to say that I would have had heightened senses up as soon as the darkness
Sure.
started changing. So did I see any more, or was it darkness that
No,
could not penetrate?
Definitely not.
Okay.
Oh, goodness, what have we agreed to? Goodness me.
Well, nothing that we'll have to deal with when it comes to accounts, at least.
That's true. It's not us that's going to be contesting any Princetons. Looks at Oscar pointedly. It's not.
A princedom that exists that needs contesting is far better than a princedom that never exists, I'm sure.
Let's get home before it gets. Goodness, what time is it?
How are we going to get home?
Looks back at
check
I
that
presume
Z
that
is
is
still
what our
there.
good guide is for.
Ah, yes.
Z says, "You did all right," and just turns around and starts walking.
Good.
Okay, follow after Z.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
He leads you back towards Down Street, or at least you assume he's leading you back towards Down Street. It takes considerably less time than it did to get here, but still, you the same experience as before. You have absolutely no idea where you're going. You're completely turned around within maybe 20 feet of twists and turns down side passages and corridors. Is anyone going to kind of talk to each other or talk to Z on the way back to Down Street, or do we just want to?
No, but I would like to try vaguely to keep track of where we're going, just in case it ever becomes useful.
Sure. Why don't you give me? Can anyone remember off the top? I think it was a survival roll we made
Yes.
last time, right? So why don't you give me a wits plus survival roll, please?
Can I use resolve instead for the concentration? I'm fine with wits, but
I think it's probably wits because you're constantly moving.
And maybe he's
the
trying to
difficulty
keep the throw off.
of that, I believe I said the first time was 7. So
I had 2, so that's quite different.
Yeah.
I'll sort of go up to Mandrel and say, and if Arthur's next as well, I'll just be like, "Well done. That was. I felt like that went well. I don't know. Seemed. I was worried that one of us wasn't going to make it out.
Why did you think that, Oscar?
I don't know. I just feel like I don't know the rules down here, and people aren't always kind to messengers. But the king granted us great audience.
I doubt he'd have accepted some kind of meeting if he was just planning on killing one of us.
Do you think he talks to that owl?
Yes.
I'm trying to remember exactly what he's seen. I mean, obviously, he's seen many things apart from what we know. But...
He was there for that scene where you were like, "Man, fuck the King of Shadows," right?
Yeah, exactly.
They know their way around our domain, and of course they know of the elders' conclaves and so on. I think it is safe to assume that regardless of the owl itself, the king knows anything which loose lips, by which I mean speaking, ever, could have shared.
Sure. Do you think we can ask Z about what they were talking about up north? This isn't the first time we've heard something.
Why don't you ask him yourself?
Sure.
You're very familiar now.
Be prepared to barter for it.
I'm prepared to barter in exactly the same way Mandrill was.
With other people's blood.
Yes. I walk up to Z. Hello. Thank you for the compliment on our negotiating skills. I was wondering if at the end I heard like a whispering perhaps about a greater threat that exists in the north. Are you familiar with this? Do you know anything about it?
He turns and says, "Yeah, of course. But not telling just anyone about it."
Absolutely. Who would you like to tell? Perhaps someone willing to offer you something in return.
Bit full tonight now.
Is there anything we can that you'd like to know? I'm sure you're kept well informed.
I think I'll pass giving out anything on that without the king say so.
Makes sense.
Huh. Well, thank you for that information.
I mean, it's clear that you don't want to do anything that would upset the king, would you?
I would hope that none of the people here would.
Of course not.
Fellow kindred.
Yeah, we feel often the same way that, we wouldn't want to. We always like to relay information through our elders. The decisions we tend to make are often, fraught with errors and mistakes. We're just not trusted, and to make those kinds of things ourselves sometimes. So we kind of really understand. I understand where you're coming from. That feeling of knowing once again you've let someone down by letting something slip that you shouldn't have done is just so deeply disappointing, isn't it?
He leans forward a bit and says, "Do these three fall for that?"
Sometimes.
He nods and carries on the walking forwards and leading you.
Sure.
I like to imagine that Arthur at the back going, "Hang on, didn't Mandrill that's last week?"
By the way, sorry, just unrelatedly, my desire for this session was to get something out of the deal with the Shadow King. Is that fulfilled? It
depends. Like, I mean, yeah. Ultimately, like the knowledge, I guess, yeah, the knowledge that your coterie, once this is over, will, right, assuming this deal goes through, will be officially granted Downstreet. Yeah, why not? I think that satisfies your desire.
Sure.
So that's so regain some superficial willpower there.
Mine was to reach an accord between the king and the Nosferatu.
Yeah, done.
Seemingly.
Mine is to feed on Oscar.
Slight
And
difference.
it's still defeated Oscar.
Slight difference.
Just Oscar falls behind, and Mandrill is just like, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Just never
Dragged off into
again.
the side tunnel. Z leads you back to down streets. Eventually, you start to kind of half recognize certain tunnels, Mandrill more than the others. And then before you know it, you've stepped out of a side tunnel leading towards kind of like a big sewerage grate. And in front of you is the postern of Down Street.
Brill. Thanks, Z.
He kind of inclines himself. He's already kind of a slightly hunched over guy anyway, and says, well, if you need another go-between, just
Where can we find you?
around. Anasoff can get word to me. He turns and stalks off back into the darkness. You're back at Down Street. You would estimate you have approximately 45 minutes until the sun comes up.
Oh,
So I'm guessing it's, unless there's any quick things you want to do, it's slumber time.
Time to brush your teeth.
Yeah.
One thing that's nice about a man with a price is that you can trust him.
What?
Oscar,
As long as you have
What?
you
Yeah.
may wish to learn that some people lie about their prices and
Mm.
lie that they will do anything for you and lie about what they're doing. And in fact, I think it is, you should consider that perhaps none can be trusted outside of those
Outside
who,
of us.
outside of those who
well,
survive because of you and who you survive because of them.
That sounds incredibly paranoid, Alex. But
Alex has survived longer than you.
Do not mistake me. I am not saying there should be no trust. Simply that you should not trust absolutely.
okay, I'll bear that in mind.
So what's Henry Mears doing watching over us?
I suspect that he dislikes the fact that we did not bow before his will. Perhaps we could... No.
I mean, he's not exactly favoured among the elders, at least as
No.
far as we know.
But that being said, if his currency is currently devalued, that means it's the rock bottom price for buying into it. It'd be really easy to show him a bit of kindness, build friends while he's currently, at the social bottom of the heap.
I think Alex might
And
have
what-
burned that bridge.
Well,
I fear that he is such a distasteful personality that we would become tainted simply by association. And for
This
all
is
we
true,
know,
it's true.
I seem to recall in our recent adventures tonight, his name was not spoken of too highly within Z, his language. So
surely,
if
Oh,
the future
go
prince
ahead.
above and the future prince below both dislike him, perhaps our association should not be sought.
surely the only benefit to befriending someone at the bottom of the barrel is the hopes that someday they may rise to the stars, which, personally, I don't hold out much hope.
Nor desire. I think we can do better.
This does open up an interesting question, though. Something that Jack mentioned about how more or less everyone in London knows exactly where to find us. It may be an idea, if you think you're up to it, Mandrill, maybe finding a backup.
Yeah.
but we'd got
I
settled
Down Street is not a long-term solution,
I agree. Not for many reasons, not just as Arthur has so correctly pointed out, but also because with the Second Inquisition so keenly looking, it is only a matter of time before they find this place, as they have sadly found our compatriots once before.
Agreed.
Well, I think I'm going to check out.
I think you all have to check out, as I think the sun Dawn is rapidly coming, so it's time. It's time to die for another day. God, that's a Bond film, isn't it? Terrible. So, yeah, rouse checks, please. Rouse checks.
Okay.
I remain on 2 hunger.
I got a success, so I remain on 2 hunger.
I go on to 3 hunger.
And I also go to 3 hunger.
Okay. Not too bad all round.
Mm.
You awake one by one the next evening, and within 5 minutes of you kind of coming around, and let's just make a roll to see who they happen to pick or stumble across. Arthur, a ghoul kind of taps nervously on the door of your chamber.
Come in.
She comes in and says, "Sir, there's someone. There's someone here to see you. I'm sorry, I can't."
Well, that's very
remember
helpful,
what he
isn't
looks
it?
like.
Oh fuck!
There's someone here to see you, sir. He said he'd wait in the council room.
Are you sure he's in the council room?
Yes.
Right. Thank you.
Oh fuck!
I can't bother to walk upstairs. Go knock on Oscar's door.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Walks off. You all one by one get summoned to go see the man in the council room that's that they can't remember. Alex.
I was going to ask, would I have heard the man in the council room no one can remember, given that my room is right next to it, or were they too stealthy?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. In fact, you can walk in there first if you want.
Good evening.
And you, yes, you walk in, and I mean, we have guessed by now. It is Brazil. He is kind of, yeah, just call
someone
him.
else.
Your ghoul just has issues. He's on his haunches in front of the refrigerator, kind of opening it and just kind of looking in there.
Oh fucking! I hate this guy.
Did you say that under your breath?
I do not say I hate this guy in front of Brazil.
Yeah, Alex can get there
You
first.
think
But the
it very
others,
loudly.
the others arrive within a very short space of time. But yeah, he's just checking out your blood supply.
Yeah, good.
Why?
Can we have Brazil's image up, please, Steve? Which I forgot to ask for. Brazil's main notable feature is that you can't remember what his features look like. But you can roughly remember his shoulder-length hair, and topless, just wearing jeans. That's his style. So
He must get cold.
that vampire must get cold.
Sounds likely.
Yeah. He looks up as you enter and says, "Oh, hello.
What brings you here?
Oh, the mission tonight, 3:00.
Marvelous.
Right.
Is there
What's the
anything else
plan?
we should know? Sorry.
No, I mean,
I was going to say, if there's anything else we should know, which I'm guessing is roughly what you were saying.
yep.
Don't think so. Christchurch Gardens. It's just around the corner from there. That's where we meet. Are we all ready?"
Of course.
He nods and just goes to start striding out of the room before he kind of turns around and says, "Oh, I'll have some little treats for you."
Brilliant.
Marvelous.
He's walking out of Down Street unless anyone is going to engage with him anymore.
No, I didn't seem like it's worth it.
Should I bring Chuck,
assume-
do you think?
I'm sure we could find a use for him.
Once I'm very sure, I'll turn heightened senses on. Once I'm very sure Brazil has left,
Mhm.
I will say, we may wish to have the garden scouted in advance,
Hmm.
just in case. Oscar and I have been nicely paraded in front of cameras to ensure that we are known to the Second Inquisition, so we may wish to expect some form of that we may be bait. So,
Yep.
scouting the location in advance may serve us all well. Not that I suspect Brazil to mean us any harm whatsoever, of course.
I agree with
No.
Alex.
No.
You seem to have an interesting relationship with your sire, Alex, but
Well, we
Yes.
can't all be best friends with our sires. Oscar,
We can't all
we
be
have, yeah, like just looks
friends
at
or
Oscar
people
really.
who know their sires. Although she will be on this mission, I believe, unless things have changed.
I need to go feed anyway. I can go out and have a look around.
That is an excellent idea. Perhaps we should all feed, as this may be a long, short night.
Mm.
most definitely.
I think that's advisable. I would also say that not to get too video game RPG about it, but if this were a video game RPG, there would be a pop-up now saying, "Are you sure you want to travel here? You will not be able to do anything else until this mission is completed."
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm not that hungry, to be honest. I'm only hunger 2.
Feed Oscar. Oscar feed.
If you
There's a
use any
t-shirt
in-character,
slogan.
if you use any in-character versions of those language, I think we'd all be saying it doesn't matter.
Yes.
It's gonna get.
Okay. I trust you.
All right.
Like, yeah, I guess Madra might put it as, Oscar, this very might well be your last opportunity to ever feed. So
I look a bit worried.
enjoy it while you can.
So let's deal with the feeding first, and we probably won't go too in depth on it, just because we want to keep the pace up here. And then I'll ask you guys, if there's anything else you want to do before you head off. And obviously, so if you said you wanted to be scouted, first off, who are you sending to scout it? Chuck?
I was going to go myself, but
Okay,
we
fair
could send Chuck quite easily. Yeah.
Well, it's up to you entirely. I'm just thinking if you're feeding, then, but it's up to you.
I was going to feed first and then consider scouting.
Sure.
But we can send Chuck.
Sure. Send
He's done that kind of
Chuck
thing.
scout. And then, okay, if you're feeding, I'm assuming you're all feeding in Mayfair, in which case your difficulties are 4, as they usually are. And just go ahead and make either your normal predator roll, or if you're doing something different, tell me and we can adjust the roll.
Okay.
Before I go out, kind of ask Oscar. Oscar, are you able to detect the flavors of bloods yet?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
What about before you feed? Do you have to feed to do it, or can you get an idea beforehand?
I believe I can get a sense beforehand. If I can get within smelling distance, I believe.
Basically, what I would like to do is to find somebody who has the right resonance that I can gain Auspex, and then I would like to feed on Oscar to gain Auspex, so I can do the
I can do that. Yes. Yeah. I don't have to feed in order to. I can.
Okay, so if you two go hunting together and you try and secure a good vessel for Mandrill to feed off. Well, let's deal with the others first, because this seems complex. So let's deal with the others first. Neill.
I rolled 4 successes because I used a blood surge, which I then recover anyway because.
Yeah. So just the very briefest. Let's not turn it into a scene, but tell me how you're hunting.
Well, I use the same pool whether I'm doing with my groups or whether I'm doing anything more siren-like. So my preferred option would be to act as an Osiris and find other lost, desperate souls in need of factual enlightenment. But failing that, I will hit the club scene.
Okay. Let's say I'm absolutely fine for you to find. You find someone on a street corner, full billboard sign. The end is nigh. 5G will take over your brain, etc. They seem an ideal person for Alex to perhaps feed off. in the end, it's sustenance, but it's disappointing. No resonance there whatsoever. So, Arthur, how did you roll?
I rolled with a blood surge and then also a willpower reroll because I need a lot of blood because I'm still injured from last night, and I got 10 successes.
Okay. Do they stack in any way? I believe we had this discussion before about how much blood you find versus how many successes you gain.
I think we suggested last time you could gain if you got twice the amount over, you could gain another vessel's worth or something.
Another vessel, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So okay, then that's 4. 4 points. Assuming you're not killing anyone, then that's 4 points of blood that you can. Points of blood for hunger, 4 bits of hunger, whatever points of hunger that you can take, and presumably you're using some of that to heal.
Yes. So while you're working on everyone else, I'm going to be doing my rouse rolls and figuring out where I'm left with health and all the rest.
Absolutely. Of it. But while we're doing that, did you just go out clubbing? Is that what you did?
I think I went to either a club or a wine bar where I know lawyers tend to assemble and would probably want something to kick the evening off with a bit of a bang.
Sure. And in doing so, you know what? You went to a wine bar. You found actually a couple of legal professionals, and you ended up feeding off both of those men. And in doing so, both of them, oddly, it's 2 identical resonances. You ended up getting the sense that both of them were basically part of a small circle of their peers who delight in hazing, bullying, generally mistreating those underneath them. And you got a sort of flood of kind of adrenalized rush from these experiences that they'd had recently, which basically translates as they're both fleeting choleric. So if you felt like buying any celerity or potence, then now's the time. Yeah. So Justin and Mandrill. So not Justin and Mandrill, Justin and Pierre. So why don't we do the easy part of this first? Why don't we have Oscar's hunting roll first?
Sure. So if I blood surge, does that mean I gain
hunting dice?
I have to do so I gain 1, right?
2.
Sorry, that was the thing I was getting wrong. So it's 7 dice.
Yeah, and you also have to make a rouse check after the blood surge has been completed.
So I'll do that. Initially, I got 8 successes. So that's great.
So that's 2 feeds again.
And then I'll go for and then I got a success on the rouse roll. So massive overkill.
You have 2. You have 4 points of hunger that you can deal with, and this is an interesting point, isn't it? Because if Oscar does that, then presumably Oscar can hang on to one of them because Oscar has bagged blood.
Yeah, I mean, assuming I can get it to the thing, and also I can.
Assuming you can get it to the refrigerator, yeah.
But yeah, I can drink.
I don't see why you couldn't.
So yeah.
And I've got to explain to Oscar the whole plan that's going to have to happen for the thing, because it's not just finding somebody with the right resonance. It's then also, Oscar, I'm also planning on feeding from you tonight, which is the bit of the plan that I haven't fully explained yet. It might well come after the first feeding that Oscar makes, but while Oscar has the opportunity to feed again.
Sure.
Okay. So am I understanding correctly that so I was on hunger 2. I can't go below hunger 1. So
you can't go below hunger 1 without
got the effectively 4. So I've got 3 blood bags.
No, we'll use it as the same as vessels. So you have 2 blood bags, each with 2 points in. And while I'd say you get a slight advantage from being able to hold on to any of them and not have to consume them, but I will say that if you basically they're all or nothing. So you can only slake 1 point of hunger right now by drinking, but that second point of hunger that's done. You've just not back a blood bag, but you can't take it lower than 1. So you have 1 blood bag remaining, which I guess you can throw in the refrigerator.
Yeah, I When I come back, I will add it to the refrigerator.
Sure.
So
I mean, you can put
blood bag.
a sticky on it if you want. You know,
Tracker.
this is Oscar's.
Oh yeah, like a little post-it note.
No one else can have that.
Do not touch.
To be
Oscar,
honest,
smiley face.
it's probably important that I say that because it's like not good for anyone else.
No, the
Yeah.
the only reason that the others are able to drink the stuff
it's so high
that was
quality.
is because it's extremely high quality specialist plasma.
Yeah.
So,
So, Oscar, here's my plan. I really need. For a long time, I've wanted to expand my ability to into my capacities visually, mentally, auditorially, and I noticed that that's a talent that you and some others have that I lack. Now, there's a way that we can share these talents, but it does involve me feeding on you. But I think it'd be very useful tonight if I had the. I've never done it before, but I've heard about it.
Have I, in any of my readings that I've so far been doing, have I actually, am I aware of any weirdness about vampires feeding on vampires?
I think that's a valid question to ask. Let's give you a roll for intelligence plus occult. I won't set a difficulty. I'll just give you information based on your result.
Okay. So I'm rolling 7 dice, no difficulty. I am willpower re-rolling that because I want more successes.
The
than that.
requirement to drink blood from another kindred in order to eventually be able to learn a discipline, Neill, that doesn't apply to clan disciplines, right? You just need resonance for that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So I
kind of
got-
assumed
Not that it matters here, but
it's kind of assumed you got it from your style when you first
of
drank.
course, yeah.
I got 2 successes.
2 successes. Okay. I'll just give you one piece of information for that, and you know what? I feel like I should just give you the information relevant to the discussion at hand. You know that to learn a discipline outside your clan does require drinking a vampire's blood. Do they have to have that discipline, Neill, or just do they need to have that as a clan discipline?
They have to actually have it.
Actually have it, yeah.
But I believe, yeah.
Yeah, you believe Mandrel. It
Yes.
matches with what you know.
That makes sense. Well, I mean, I learned from the best. What are you willing to offer me?
Classic. I believe you owe me a favor, Oscar, but that's fine.
I think I've paid my favors back. This is quite a big deal.
There's the briefest flicker of Mandrel's mind of I don't gonna fucking deal with Oscar. I'll just fucking take the fucking food if I want to. Just well, Oscar, if you don't like the lovely haven that I've been making for you, and all the other things that I've been going for you, what would be a suitable payment?
Perhaps. I don't have to have it now, but if you find a particularly good book, I would like that. And I'm not, and I'm talking about sort of
particularly good. Got it. So not just a New York Times bestseller.
Oscar's going to wake with the Da Vinci Code on his pillow.
I will start some shit if it is the Da Vinci Code. No, I want to know more about our world. I want books like the ones we found in that library with that poor man. But yes, in exchange for my blood.
That seems very fair. It's going to be a hard task to separate myself from these books when I acquire them. But
I'm sorry, just to clarify, we are talking about the poor man that Mandrel overhand slung into a tree trunk and killed, aren't we?
And then used to save Oscar's life, hence generating the favor in the first place that Oscar's now just forgotten.
Sure.
Definitely have not just forgotten. I'm pretty sure I paid this favor back.
Oh yeah, sure. Anyway, never mind. Oscar, you know what? Mandrel was
You asked.
surprisingly
you got me
okay
to
with the
trade
price of
the
this
V.
blood.
Anyway.
And we'll go, that's good. And I kind of feel like I would not want to do this in public, and I probably would do it in Oscar's
I
room.
definitely wouldn't. Oh, I thought you meant in public. I was like, yeah, that's not good. Sure, in Oscar's room. I don't. Again, I want to keep moving forward. I don't want to make a particular.
It's rather
scene out of
big
this.
event, though.
It's quite a big event, but we have had coterie members feeding off each other before. But why don't you just tell me? I genuinely want to know how Oscar feeds a coterie mate. Like, I want
The
that
question,
image.
the real, I mean, like, the real question is does Oscar make it weird?
I think he bleeds on the floor, rubs his shoe all over it, and then offers the soul
He's
of the shoe to
like, just give me 5 minutes, and then Mandel comes in. He's just painted like a pentagram on his own chest, and he's got all the chalk out, and he's like, "Well, let's party, guys. Let's."
Or he makes a big ceremony and goes over it by drinking my blood. You become my vassal and will serve me, so I become a leader amongst vampires.
I'm like, yep.
Ambition,
sure.
ambition, successful. So, let's find out how.
Sure. Let's go to, I guess, my room. I roll up my sleeve. I probably pump my hand a while.
Go on.
up.
Get the circulation going.
I reach my hand out. Just as
Great.
because
that's surprisingly easy, and
Classic wrist.
Classic wrist. Nothing too saucy, and gladly Mandrill will feed. Do I have to take a point of blood, or does it?
Yeah, you will take. You will exchange a point of hunger between you. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Works for me.
This is how Z took it. So
you can. I'm assuming, I don't know what Mandrill is on. In fact, it doesn't apply here, but just to double check for future reference, I'm assuming, Neill, that blood from kindred cuts through the normal rule of having to kill to drain to hunger 0. I would assume that if you're at hunger 1 and you drink from kindred, then your hunger goes to 0.
Nope.
Doesn't matter in this place anyway.
It's just about the killing that does it.
Okay.
Nice.
You can kill a kindred or a werewolf or a human, but you have to kill.
So Pierre, I know it's a bit game-breakingly, but just so I know for my own rules, what disciplines do you currently have?
I have Auspex and blood sorcery.
Okay. So in theory, I don't know if even non-Tremere can learn blood sorcery, but
They absolutely can.
Fair enough.
They're literally not the only clan in V5 to have blood sorcery as a clan.
Yeah, but I just find it really weird that anyone who's not a Tremere would do so.
Sure, there's always been a bit of a weird extra framework around blood sorcery to other stuff. Partly because blood sorcery isn't an original vampiric discipline. But let's.
Okay, so that
teach you most of
that having happened, fading to black. Is there a way for Oscar and I to then be wandering through the streets trying to find someone with a phlegmatic resonance?
Absolutely. Let's have Oscar hunting that down. So if you can just look up what I'm assuming Bloodhound has some mechanics.
So yes,
And while you're on the streets of Mayfair, I see that Steve has queued up an image, so I'll just add it to the stream there.
Very nice.
I'm not making do the work. Yes, there's the lovely nighttime streets of Mayfair. So, what are these mechanics, Oscar? What must you do to use Bloodhound?
So, I can smell the resonance of a human's blood without tasting it. I need to be within olfactory range of the person. I make a resolve and awareness test at difficulty 3. I can increase the difficulty for perfume or distance, and I can lower it for more intimate contact. If I can contrive to be closer to a person, it can be easier.
Where
to
are you
smell
going? Because I think that it strongly depends where you are. If you're stalking the streets of Mayfair, I think that I'm going to make it a difficulty 4. Because while Mayfair isn't empty at night, neither is it thronged with people. And obviously, you need to get quite close to someone to smell them. So I would say that it's difficulty 4 if it's just on the streets. But similarly, if you want to go to a club or something, well, you're with Mandrill.
Yes. So, are there any other place, Mandrill? Can you think of a place where we can get close to people, to a large number of people, so that we can?
Could just go to the sleep deprivation therapy center where your herd
Yeah.
are, Mandrel, and just
I've already fed from my herd once this week, though, so I don't know if that. I didn't know if that would be a problem.
No, it's not a problem because I'll make you roll.
Okay, cool.
If you
In that case, let's do that.
Okay, just to check
Oscar,
if there's.
don't tell anyone about this, but this is where I keep.
Oh, yeah, it's information.
Mm.
So I'm going to actually drop the difficulty there because you can just go straight up to people while they're asleep and sniff them. Everyone needs a hobby. So that's difficulty 2, I'd say. So
Don't
why
want
don't
that
you
image.
give us the bloodhound roll there?
Okay, so resolve plus awareness is 3 + 1, so 4. Hunger. Oh, can I have drank some that extra blood bag, or is that not?
Yeah, sure. If you want to drop your hunger back down again.
Yeah, I think I would have. Yeah, I sort of wanted to do that. Okay,
Sure.
So dice pool is 4, difficulty 2. I got 2 successes, so got a success.
Okay. So you stalk the corridors and rooms of this kind of sleep therapy center until you reach a young woman's room, and she just has this odor, not in a bad way. This odor fills the air, a kind of a rich one, but one that's a very calm, just a very the smell just reminds you of just taking a deep bath.
Okay. I motion to Mandrel. I think this one is what you're after.
Fantastic.
Okay. Can you make a roll, a standard Sandman roll, please, Justin? But I'll give you some bonuses for the situation and what have you. First off, I'll give you an extra die for Oscar's help, and then also I think the change of the circumstance. Environmental or external change. Now, the difficulty, obviously, in Mayfair would usually be 4. I'm actually knocking that down to 2, partly because I think this is a very easy environment to do your particular hunting in, and also because you are very familiar with it, because it's your herd ground. So, yeah.
I'll keep a lookout.
And I guess it's worth asking. I'm going to offer you taking half, so if your die pool is 4 or more, then we don't need to roll.
It is 4.
Then that's fine.
Cool. Normally, I'd be able to take 2 points of blood. I only need to take 1 in this case right now, but
sure,
we could balance that out with how the herd's been used as well, because then if only taken 1 from this person,
you could spit some back into my mouth.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, what do you mean balance with the herd?
I don't know. I'm just trying to think about, because it doesn't.
We're not optimizing it. Optimizing the numbers. Like you're feeding on this person at this one point in time. If you can't take more than 1 point off them, that's just how it is.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's all good. Right, in that case, I'm down to 1 hunger, and I have done all of the things, and my dead brain is trying to work out how to kick this Auspex thing into gear.
I think you can just for the ease of the storytelling purposes of this, you can kind of come out of this. In fact, you know what? We said it's phlegmatic, but I haven't rolled for what degree of phlegmatic they are, and I think that's probably worth rolling for, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I believe, and it must be at least fleeting, otherwise it wouldn't. Yeah.
Register.
So I don't suppose off the top of your head, Neill, either the page number for that table, or I know that for the very powerful one, you basically have to roll kind of 10 twice or something.
It's page 228. So if you roll a d10, and if you get 9 or 10, you roll again. So it was intense or acute. Is the default one.
Well, I did not roll 9 or 10, so it's fleeting anyway. So, yeah. Sure, you rise out of the feeding on this young woman and overcome with that sense of calm that Oscar describes, perceiving when smelling her blood through her body. And as you calm, things seem to just clarify themselves around you and resolve. Are you buying heightened senses, or
Yes.
you're buying heightened senses? Then that's an easy one, right? You feel your senses kind of unfolding around you. You can hear the traffic going on the streets. You can hear the little whirs of the security cameras that you have made sure you don't need to worry about as they turn and rotate in their settings. You can hear a fly buzzing in the staff kitchen down the hall. It's safe to say you've accomplished what you set out to do.
Fantastic. Let's get back quickly, Oscar, and don't tell anyone about this place. It's a good spot.
Yeah, well found.
Okay, so without any further ado, Chuck has come back from his scouting mission and reports to you, Mandrill, that the gardens, Christchurch Gardens, seem perfectly clear.
Okay.
He notes that there were literally no security cameras pointed at them or kind of immediately near them. He thinks it's actually a very good spot.
Good.
Very good.
And with that in mind, are we going to Christchurch Gardens? Is there anything else anyone would like to wrap up?
I think
very quickly.
Share a meaningful look with Arshad, but not actually say anything to him.
Sure. He smiles at you happily.
Other than double checking mentally that I can remember Cortland's hotel address.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's fine.
Yep, that's it.
Okay. Well then, it's not a long journey to Christchurch Gardens. I think we said that kind of getting to Westminster is not far from Mayfair. Are we taking a taxi or just walking through the streets? You've got plenty of time to walk if that's what you want.
Let's take a taxi.
Okay.
All right.
That's
you take a taxi, presumably pull up around the corner from the gardens rather than directly there.
Yep.
Okay. Then you proceed through the streets. Christchurch Gardens is a very fancy name for a very sorry place. It's a patch of parkland between tall office buildings of glass and chrome near Palmer Street. Most of the kind of grass and the bushes there have fallen into deep disrepair. In fact, the entire center of it is just kind of this scrubby patch of open soil covered in weeds. There are 4 figures already stood in the center of it. And we can, in fact, bring their images up, which includes some new NPCs. One of them you can not recognize as Brazil. Another, all of you have met. One of you, perhaps all too briefly. It is Sarah Cobbler, Oscar's sire. The other 2, Zoe, Alex has certainly met on one occasion, and looks like a woman in her 20s, long dark hair, as you can see there, and kind of all quite stereotypical sort of 90s goth gear. Just a black tank top, black jeans, silver jewelry. The other is tall and almost skeletally thin, clad in a black turtleneck and some grey slacks with dark hair swept back. He's handsome in an odd, disconcerting bird of prey kind of way. None of you know who this individual is. I mean, all the players do because his name's written on top of his art there, but none of you players know who he is.
Seeing Sarah, I sort of briefly pause in my walking, but then continue on.
Sure. Is anyone calling out a greeting of any kind, or are you waiting for them to respond to you?
If no one else does, I will say hello.
Didn't we say we were going to scout it first?
Sent Chuck to do so, I believe.
Yes, but we didn't hear anything back, presumably.
He said it was fine, basically.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I said a whole thing about it.
Sorry.
It's all right.
Then I will just smile and beam at them as my wont.
I will not call out because I'm assuming we will want to stay slightly quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's definitely what I was thinking too.
Well, then, as you approach, Brazil kind of wheels around and turns and looks at you, and it's not loud, but it's not in a whisper either. It says, "Oh, all right then, I'll get the pieces," and starts walking off towards where a kind of battered old car is parked up nearby. The individual you don't recognize takes a pace forward and kind of looks around among you and proffers his hand first out to Oscar.
I gladly take it. Pleased to meet you.
Hello, yes, hello.
Okay.
I am Ignatius. I don't believe we have had the pleasure so far.
No. Pleased to meet you.
Yes, very good. And you must be Mr. Norris. I've heard Mr. Layton talk about you frequently.
Is he actually addressing me or addressing Oscar?
He's addressing you, yeah.
Yes. Pleased to meet you.
Shakes your hand, turns towards Mandrill, holds a hand out and says, I don't believe I know who you are. I am sorry.
So tempted to say, pleased to meet you, sorry. But I think Mandrill would say, yeah, I am Mandrill.
Do you take his hand?
Yeah, if any hand's proffered to me, Mandrill takes it.
Sure. Ignatius, hello. And yes, of course, my coterie mate's child. Alex, how are you tonight?
I am well. And you are looking forward to the outing?
Looking forward to it is perhaps a slight exaggeration. Tonight should be distracting. Well, if we are all here, I would be ever so grateful if you could gather round me so I could not be seen from any of the streets. He reaches into a pocket and withdraws a mirror.
I will
Of
gladly
course.
do so. And also try to examine the mirror surreptitiously, just to see if there's anything interesting about it.
You all kind of gather around Ignatius. Just for my own amusement, I'm going to say that this shuffling of people puts Oscar next to Sarah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Ignatius kind of kneels down on the floor and just sort of opens his wrist, smears blood down the mirror, licks the wound close, and then he's kind of hunched over the mirror, reciting something in a language. I'm probably, I'll probably say none of you understand, but if you really want to, Oscar, I'll let you have a roll, because why not?
Yeah, sure. Let's go for it. Would this
let's go for it.
antiquarian?
You know what? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm guessing intelligence and academics?
Yeah, intelligence plus academics, and you can use your antiquarian.
Antiquarian coming in clutch. I have no idea what the difficulty is, but I'll just roll. I'm going to willpower re-roll because that's more.
And let's. I'm going to say the difficulty of this is 5, so it's pretty challenging.
I rolled 6 successes.
Ooh.
Which was
well,
a crit.
You've never heard it spoken out loud before, and at first you don't really you're not even sure you're meant to speak it out loud, but you're fairly sure from kind of what he's saying and descriptions you read about the cadence of these things and kind of the structure of the words. Ignatius is speaking Enochian, which is a language, an old kind of alchemical language, which may or may not have been made up in the medieval period, although the people who wrote it then certainly claimed that it was a lot older. It is, generally considered an occult language known only to the keepers of secrets of these things. And also, I would like for any of you who have Sense the Unseen, I would like a roll for that, please, as well.
Yes, that is me. remember what it was. It was wit plus all specs or resolve plus all specs. Okay.
While Oscar makes that roll, any of the other three of you, is there any further interactions you want to have? Oh, three. Okay, yeah. Yeah, that'll do. There is another individual in these gardens. They are very large, hulking, one would say, and they are standing in the shadows of a copse of trees over on the side. Now that you're aware of their presence, a noise that you thought was perhaps the wind or a nearby unpleasant creature is definitely coming from them. It's not a breathing noise, but it is an almost constant.
I think I know that sound. I'm glad he's on our side.
Yep.
I won't be doing any particular interactions. I was going to look at the mirror, but as soon as he started doing a ritual with it, I lost interest. So I'd just have heightened senses up and be trying to make sure that we're not being, I don't know, sneaked up on, observed, or anything like that.
Sure. Absolutely. Mandrill, Arthur, anything from you?
Nope, just kind of keep an eye out.
Nope,
Absolutely.
keeping an eye out and maybe occasionally checking my watch and trying to find out when Brazil's gone, if this takes any large amount of time.
Sure. Before Brazil comes back with his treats, Oscar, are you kind of saying anything?
So yeah, I will definitely be like initially just making surreptitious glances to see if Sarah is clocking me or like is looking at me in any particular kind of way.
She's not avoiding you.
She's not looking at me.
I mean, you could say she's avoiding eye contact, but she's not looking at anyone else either. Like most of you, I guess, aren't looking at each other. So, yeah.
I guess I'll say it's been a while, hasn't it, Sarah?
She glances over at you and says, yes. And then turns away.
So I guess that's how it is. And I will have said that. That's not to myself. Right. And I'll dejectedly look at the mirror.
Brazil returns and literally has an armful of pistols, which he's not being very subtle about. And he proffers one each to all members of the coterie. Is anyone not taking one? Yeah.
Actually, how big are they?
It's definitely smaller than the one you've got.
Then I'll take one, just in case having a smaller one is useful.
Variety.
Yeah, I guess.
Why
I'm
not?
sort of in a bit of a daze. I'll take them. My mind is elsewhere.
I will take one and say, you seem very confident we're not being watched.
Brazil says, I'm confident we are being watched, so it doesn't matter. Anyone who's taken one, note down that you have a 9mm pistol, which has +3 damage value.
Plus 2 or 3, sorry.
3. So it's one less than the one you've already got, I believe. After you think you've been here maybe 20 minutes or so, Ignatius suddenly the mirror he's holding, he just crushes it in one hand, leaving several shards in his palm, and then he's just gripping one piece of blood-soaked mirror. He stands up and says, "All right." Brazil nods and just says, "Let's do this." He turns and starts walking in the direction of Palmer Street. And Steve, can we have an image of Palmer Street, please?
What a fascinating ritual.
So as you start walking towards this building, Brazil kind of leans over his shoulder and says, "All right, you four, up to the roof. We're going in through the wall."
The wall.
I look over at the
In a manner of
hulking
speaking.
figure.
Mandrill winks, goes the wall.
All right, up to the roof.
Wonderful. Alex will head straight for the spot that they went up the other day.
Absolutely. Rather than have everyone make all rolls and stuff, what I think I want from the coterie is kind of a group compiled success at strength plus athletics. So if everyone can roll their strength plus athletics, please, and obviously you can blood surge and whatever you'd normally do, but I am looking for, I think, or probably between those, that would be 12 and that would be 8, so let's say 10. I'm looking for a total of, no, that would be, oh my god, I'm so bad at this. That is right. Yes, I'm looking for a total of 10 successes, and they can be cumulative, like we can roll again basically. So
Sure.
I've got 4 of those already.
Good.
Whoa.
No.
I am very weak.
Oh, 2 successes.
Okay, we're up to 7, so we just need 3 from you, Oscar Kane.
With my 2 dice, I guess I need to blood surge, or we can do a second roll, I suppose.
You can do a second roll. It just means it'll take longer.
No, I think I'm gonna save my that. I
Sure.
got 2 successes.
Hey, that's
out of 2,
pretty good.
somehow.
So that's 9 successes. That's pretty good. Yeah, you basically managed to gather together, and obviously Alex did it last time, but I think everyone was here to see how it works. There is a pub at the end of the road with like a lower kind of flat ceiling area with a fire escape leading up, and then you can jump across the roof to the Second Inquisition building. And basically you all kind of proceed doing this, and you end up in a situation where you're all on the fire escape, and it's basically just who got the least. I think Arthur and Alex, did you both get 1? Yeah,
I got 2.
You got 2. You're in a situation essentially where Alex is just having trouble getting onto the roof and balancing, while the rest of you are up there, and Mandrill's already leapt across. So you know what? Rather than make everyone re-roll, Alex, why don't you just give me another roll, please? But you can take, Mandrill's already leapt across, but you can take an extra 2 dice from help from Oscar and Arthur.
Take my hand.
2 dice.
Okay. So it definitely takes you a bit longer than you would have liked, but you are now all in a position to kind of leap across. And Alex, since you're the last person to make the jump, I'm going to say that you're the person who sees what the other coterie is up to. They have wandered down the street. There's no sign of Grendel currently, and they've stopped just about halfway down the street there from where the pub is. So about halfway down that image. Three of them who aren't Ignatius have kind of gathered round and are just kind of looking around down the streets. There is no one walking down it. You kind of hear Brazil say something softly, too softly for you to make out exactly what he says, even with your heightened senses, to Ignatius. Ignatius nods and walks through the wall.
Right.
Just slides through it as if there's nothing there.
So that is possible.
You are on the roof. Oh God! Briefly, very large John there. You are on the roof of the Second Inquisition building. It is exactly as you saw it before. There is no one here.
Alex will just gesture towards the air conditioning. I believe we should be able to enter through this. Mandrill, I have every confidence in your abilities.
What? To just like, you want me to push through that thing? What? Look.
Whatever
Climb
it
through
is
it.
you do,
Help you
I
loosen
can
it up.
attempt to loosen it, but I'm assuming that you are more practiced at these things.
Sorry, so what exactly is it? Is it a vent or the wall?
It's
an air
like
conditioning unit.
Yeah, it's an air conditioning unit with a large venting, like a large vent duct through it, like an old-fashioned one that's very big and bulky with a lot of room. And over the top of it is like a newer frame that's been put, but it's not been put very securely or well. So you could either try and kind of loosen it or get it off in a stealthy way, or you could try and wrench it off. You think it's possible to do so?
I wonder whether it's possible to not in a kind of let's try a larceny roll. That makes the most sense.
Sure. So you're trying to get it off a bit stealthier first.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's perfectly reasonable. I'm definitely going to dock you for not having the tools to do it on you, which would be, it's a change of circumstance for you. So I'll modify the dice pool for that. So that is going to be obviously a dexterity plus larceny roll, and I am going to give a +2 to the dice roll. To the difficulty rather, for not having tools on you, so I'm going to make that difficulty 4.
Could I?
I normally have a knife on me. Is that an improvised tool? Or like,
it's kind of improvised a little bit.
It is a bit. Fair enough. That's just a +1 then. Alex, were you asking if you could contribute?
Yes.
Yeah, go on. Take an extra die for Alex's help. Do you have larceny? Yeah.
So I roll 3 successes.
Okay. So that is what you need because because I change it to just +1, right? Because of the knife. It is the work of about 60 seconds to unscrew the loose connections, pull the threads, take it off and rest it gently on the roof. And what you have is a fairly large air conditioning duct, easily big enough for one of you at a time, that is just kind of slowly pouring warm air out into the night.
Good. And Mandrill probably would go in first.
Sure. You crawl into the air duct. It's a drop of about 5 feet. And then you find yourself in a long, quite bulky, enough room for you to be. You're not crushed. You're just kind of squashed. And it seems to be an air duct that's running across the. You feel there's space below you. You can tell from even the slight movements you make. There is a vent further down that you could maybe get a peek out of.
Then with Silence of Death activated, which at least somewhat muffles the sounds in my personal area, I will sneak over to that vent.
Sure. So why don't you give me a dexterity plus stealth roll, please? And I'm going to set the difficulty for that at... Well, you've got the Silence of Death, so I'm probably not... What's your dexterity plus stealth?
4.
You got it. It's fine. Don't need to make the roll. Who is coming down behind Mandrill?
I'd suggest Alex, because A, Alex also has Silence of Death, and B, Alex was there helping with the larceny.
That's true.
Makes sense. Obviously, you follow the same process. Mandrill, you are looking down on what looks to be a dimly lit but still visible. It just looks like an office.
Brilliant.
You can definitely get the opening off this vent. You don't need any tools to do it, and just drop down if you want.
Then I think I probably would do that.
Okay. You are standing in a very kind of averagely decorated UK office space. Presumably Alex is probably at this vent by now. Oscar and Arthur following into the air duct. Is anyone doing anything but following Mandrill exactly as she's done?
Aside from just doing my normal looking over Mandrill's shoulder to see if there's anything she hasn't noticed, but otherwise... I think I'll be falling behind, but not so closely that if she trips or something, I'll fall into her, but at a nice, comfortable pace.
Sure.
Can I have all of them? You're gone. Let's go.
Does the vent continue?
Yes.
But I'm not very stealthy or dexterous, so I think I'll drop down.
Okay.
Because I'll just make a lot of noise, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. So the four of you are now just standing in this relatively open office space. You're obviously on the top floor of this building, and as we saw in the picture, it has 3 floors. You can see, it's basically it looks like it's a very long office room, and then there's a door at the end of it that looks like there's another equivalently long office room, and there's a door kind of dead ahead of you that looks like it maybe leads to a stairwell.
Are there any cameras inside the room?
There are so many cameras.
Right. Let's move quickly then.
Are the windows all bolted down and stuff? Or, like,
yeah, I mean, I was going to ask for a general kind of alertness sort of role, but I think, the environment is very straightforward.
Sure.
Yeah, the windows are locked up in the way that office windows are locked up. So even though they're older windows, they have had like newer locks placed on them.
I'll say, I wonder if there's any way that we can work out how to get out of the door rather than out of the and I gesture.
Anyone with heightened senses, can you make a wits plus alertness roll, please?
I mean, awareness.
Yeah, awareness.
Let's see how badly I roll on my largest pool of the night.
Difficulty, I'll say, because I've said it's only for people with heightened senses, it's probably a 5. Difficulty's a 5.
Exactly 5.
Whoa.
Yeah, I don't have any chance of getting it, but I'll roll.
I had 9 dice, though, so that was...
I got 2 successes.
Okay. Alex, you hear something of a commotion coming from further down the stairs. A soft, gentle commotion, but a commotion nevertheless.
So coming down the stairs, did you say?
Yeah, from the stairwell downwards.
I will whisper, probably having to drop Silence of Death quickly whilst I whisper and then put it back up again. I believe the others have made it inside. I can hear their commotion. We may not be being observed if we are quick, as everyone may be distracted.
Okay, let's go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So presumably you're going to the stairwell, following it down. It's not, they're not large floors. You get down to the kind of first floor very quickly. Even a quick glance through the door there, it looks identical to the floor you've just come from. Kind of just darkened office space, a few whiteboards scattered around, all of them kind of fastidiously cleaned, security cameras and the rest of it. Are you carrying on down to the ground floor? Because that is evidently where this commotion came from.
So I've noticed that the whiteboards have been well cleaned.
Yeah, I think everyone like they are noticeable.
Sure, and there's no like computers that are on or anything like that.
No, although a number of them have that kind of the standby light on.
Yeah, but nothing's like.
Do any of these look like in a way that a manager might have a separate office? Do any of them look, or like, is there any of them labeled like?
They're all open plan.
There's nothing that says security footage stored here. Please do not delete, or things like that.
They're all open plan, and like as I said, some of them are on standby. They've got that and the lighting is all kind of like there's enough light for a security guard to patrol, but it's not, the lights aren't on, as it were. It's all kind of dim light.
Okay. I was just wondering if the reason that these have all been carefully cleaned is because they were worried that there would be people wandering around like us, but we'll see.
Never had anything written on them in the first place.
Okay, let's
keep going.
You come down to the ground floor. The stairs come down into a lobby. You can see that Brazil's coterie has gathered in here, and you can see a number of other things. First off, all the security cameras on the wall have been pulled off and are now lying on the floor. There is what appears to be a security room behind the front desk, and the door to that is swinging open, and you can see like the flickering of light from monitors on the inside of that. You can also see 3 forms lying on the floor, all wearing security guard style uniforms. A couple of them, well, you know what? Actually, for extra information, why doesn't everyone give me a wits plus awareness roll, and I'll hand out some information based on that.
Does heightened senses account for this? Or is
Yeah,
it not
absolutely.
Quite... Okay.
Yeah.
Does
One
that,
success.
does that give a +1 bonus then? But senses.
+2, I
For
think,
you,
right?
it's 1 per dot of all specs. So for me,
Oh.
it's +3, and for Manuel, it's +1.
Thank you
Right,
very much.
guys.
Two
I know
successes.
everything that there is. I got 1 success.
1 success. Mandel is still terrible at looking for things.
3. Cool.
With 9 dice. I should just point that out.
Sure. Yeah, I think for the 1s and the 2, I won't give anything extra on there. The 3, though, Alex, I'll give you another bit of information, specifically about the bodies. 2 of them are breathing, and the other one is pale. You would not want to particularly leave this individual in a masquerade, this dead body in a masquerade threatening place. But there's a certain logic to the fact that you're not sure the masquerade can be threatened any further in this place.
Cool.
So, clearly someone made that decision. Also, which no one needs any points to resolve. There is one member of the coterie who's not stood in the center of the room. Zoe is knelt by a controlled panel to the metal doors of an elevator, and it seems to be tinkering.
I've got things I want to do.
Oh, and there's also a double set of doors that seem to lead through to another exactly identical office floor.
I want to go over to the security room and start deleting things, like, anything I can do.
Sure. You wander into said security room. The security and computer system has been, first of all, it's turned off, and second of all, the power system has been ripped out of the side of it. You can also notice that on the wall, in chunky red marker, is written the following sentence, and I have to look it up because it's not in English. Das Filmmaterial befindet sich in der Cloud.
All right.
Right.
I didn't learn any German when I was in Germany, so that's news to me.
That's fine.
Can I, Mandrill was very tech savvy. Can they make reasonable efforts to destroy hard drives and things like that as well? Like specifically go for them? Or is that?
Yeah, I mean, you can do, unless you want someone to translate that and not bother.
Or unless you recognize the word cloud.
Yeah.
I recognise the word cloud, but it could mean anything. Could mean anything, guys.
Sure.
The film material is in the cloud.
Never mind. I still destroy the hard drives. I don't give a shit.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you can do that, absolutely. Yeah,
Or
I'm
we
not going to
should
make you
take
roll
them.
for that. You can just, whatever, grab them or destroy them or whatever you want.
Cool.
Why is it written? Who wrote that? I guess I come in.
Are you asking that out loud?
Yeah, I'll follow in and I'll be like, yeah, who wrote that? Is there was it one of us?
Brazil kind of leans over your shoulder and says, the prodigal over there. Poor girl, it's the only real way she can communicate.
Right.
So where to next?
We need to see where this elevator takes us.
And are we keeping an exit route open, or are we just...
Oh, the big lad's taking care of that for us. Nothing's coming in and out of that door.
Perfect.
Good.
Neill, were you going to say something?
I was just going to make sure there's going to have whilst the lift control panel is being examined, just making sure there's nothing else that we're missing, like someone hiding behind a desk.
Sure.
Or something like that.
Would you want to give me a resolve plus investigation? Does that sound about right?
It does sound right. I don't want to roll it particularly, but it does sound like the roll one should make.
Oh man, I'd love to make that roll, but unfortunately I didn't think of that idea.
I have 1 success.
Okay. I think 1 success in this circumstance equates to you're not altogether sure. But you think you're probably all right.
Okay, that's fine.
Can I have a cursory? It will be only a quick look at any of the filing cabinets in the room, just to see if any of them are locked or unlocked, rather.
You cannot, because there are no filing cabinets in the room.
That's fine.
Paperless office, mate.
There have not
Answered
been
my
filing cabinets in any of the rooms. The doors to the elevator slide open. And Zoe stands up looking satisfied. The panel is a mess.
God, it would be useful to have somebody with. Anyway, I walk over to the elevator.
Brazil also appears to be doing so and says, "Come on then, Wunderkind."
Which one is Wonderkin? I'm going to wander over.
He's referring to the 4 of you.
Right.
Yep.
Are you all stepping into the elevator with him?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is it just us? Is it just us, him and Zoe?
It's not Zoe.
Oh,
Just us in Brazil.
Zoe and Ignatius and Sarah are standing in the lobby.
they're staying.
They seem to be.
Fun.
You can ask him about these things. You're not just a passive observer.
What is the plan?
Yeah, seems to be a bit evasive.
The 5 of us go downstairs because we're the most expendable. And we take a look around, see what we can find, see if we can find a Bowie. And then we get the fuck out of here.
Okay, I like the plan.
And what will they be doing?
Holding off anyone who comes in. Do you
All
want
right.
that job?
Don't want any of these jobs, but as I am here, let's go down.
All right. He steps into the elevator, presumably followed by the 4 of you.
Yeah.
Yes.
The elevator doors close softly. You barely feel kind of a tug of gravity before it starts sliding downwards, and the doors open about 15 seconds later to a fairly long corridor with what look like kind of very average office doors, just wooden office doors lining on both sides. At the end of the corridor, it looks to turn to the right, and it's all lit with that, kind of like neon strip office lighting. There is nothing else of note in the corridor.
Okay.
Brazil is walking forward and hefting a crowbar.
Was this a specific floor, or when we went down?
That's a very good question. You didn't notice that there was anything but one button in the elevator.
Sure. Okay. So, right. I guess unless Brazil is specifically about to slam it down into the ground or something.
He looks like he's about to start he's going over to start checking the doors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I guess I'll just start investigating. I'll just start trying to look and see if there are any signs of, say, increased foot traffic or marks that might indicate that some of the doors have been more used or less used. Stuff like that.
Sure. Okay. Well, Brazil has found that the door he's looking at is closed and he's just kind of starting to crack it open with a crowbar. Is anyone else doing anything in particular that they want to roll while Oscar's making his?
Might wander over to a different door and start trying to open that.
Sure.
Same, I think.
Yeah, the more people who can look through doors, the more doors we'll look through.
The more doors we door.
That was more insightful in my head.
Do the doors appear to be reinforced in any kind of way, or do they feel like they give way under
they just feel like normal office doors? And in point of fact, while Oscar makes that roll, which I'll say is a wits plus investigation roll, everyone else, roll a rouse check, and not an actual rouse check, but roll a rouse check equivalent, and if you succeed, your door is open.
My door is open.
A critical. if that
My door is
helps.
open.
Your door is open, and all the other doors open.
All the other doors. So anyone who's got a raspberry, you open, and inside you find rooms with a lot of information stored in them. There are computers. There are those filing cabinets you were so excited about, Arthur, and there are more whiteboards that have been wiped clean. And generally, they have the air of there's not as many people working in these areas. They have a kind of a cross between a fresh and a musty smell to them. I don't know if you've had that when you like open up a new office or something like that. You have that the carpet smells a lot, and they have that sensation to them. But clearly, people have been working in here, and there may be a lot of information to take in. Oscar, how many successes did you get on your roll?
With a willpower reroll and 7 dice, I got 2 successes.
Okay. I think it's reasonable to say no, you don't find any particular indication that any of them are more investigated than others. At this point, I want to kind of dilate time a little bit. That might be the wrong way around. Are we all searching this corridor, broadly speaking?
Yes.
Mhm.
Then why doesn't everyone give me another one of those wits plus investigation rolls? And tell me what you all get.
Which was also
Wits, I think. No, your choice. I think your choice, whether you're scrabbling around or taking a careful look.
Oh
Wits
man,
and investigation.
2.
So we've got
I
2
think
from Alex.
I can't afford. I got 1 success off of another 7 dice roll.
Sure.
I'm saving my hunger for now, which is rare for me, as I normally blood surge all over the place.
I'm going to willpower and get 3 successes.
Okay.
Same here.
Okay.
3
okay.
dice.
Well, I think that's decent. I think with 1 success, which I think was Pierre, you find some documentation that looks terribly kind of official, but you're not sure what it means. With 2 successes, Alex, you find basically a lot of this documentation is criminal in nature, not as in, holding the documentation is criminal, but it pertains to criminal proceedings or criminal events. But you don't find anything particularly kindred related, just kind of obviously the people here work in law enforcement, and these are documents that pertain to court cases and investigations and things like that of all different kinds. Arthur and Mandrill, on the other hand, you find some that they pertain to criminal acts, which basically you find some of them stamped with something that says for referral to Operation Antigen. And even the briefest scan through them, they're about things like holding companies and kind of illicit organized activity. They have the stink of kindred all over them from someone on the inside of the Camarilla.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool. Stuff those inside bag. If there's anything, I'm gonna grab start stuffing.
Yeah,
things
just
inside
start
bags.
stuffing various things in. With Mandrill and Arthur doing that, Alex and Oscar, will you kind of join them when you realise they've had more success, or?
Yes, definitely.
Sure.
I cursory look over, see what they're doing as soon as I notice the pattern. Yeah.
Sure.
I think I'm going to probably try and actually look for anything that's not like a room with
Data
in it. I'm going to try and look for any door that is in any way different.
Sure. None of them are. Yeah, you can spend
The
your time
whole
kind of
area.
looking at all those doors. The corridor, as I say, turns to the right down at the end. But of the ones in this corridor, no, there's nothing there. After probably about 20 minutes or so of this, Brazil emerges from one of the rooms with the crowbar and just says, "No, there's nothing of real interest in here. How about you lot? Look down the next one, and I'll keep an eye on that fucking elevator."
All right.
Okay.
Can we take the crowbar?
He shrugs and passes it to you.
I'm offended.
I pass it to Mandrill.
I'm offended.
Sure.
I don't take it.
Sure.
I keep it. Fine.
Can everyone with either heightened senses or sense the unseen? I think that's fine. So just not Arthur, I guess. Give me a wits plus awareness roll, please. And I'm going to put that at a very high difficulty. I'm going to put that at difficulty 7.
Nah,
Okay.
not a chance.
Rolling 4 dice.
You don't have to roll it if you don't want to. In fact, I'll say because it's so difficult, because I don't want you to just get a bestial failure for not even wanting to do something.
I have spent my first willpower of the night and got 7 successes with a critical.
Okay, lovely. Brazil has a sheaf of documents tucked down the back of his trousers.
Cool.
Oh man!
Which, considering he
Brilliant.
said there's nothing here,
It's kind of
seems at least
interesting.
mildly suspicious. But on the flip side of that, Alex, it's Brazil, and you would expect him to blatantly lie about
I can
something.
interrogate Brazil later
Also,
anyway.
he's a vampire. Like, you know.
He is.
What?
Okay, so just a quick one for all the players. Are we happy with this session? Maybe going about 5 minutes over, because I just want to get us to a nice
As long as
Yep.
it takes.
point. Is that all right?
As long as the audience is happy. Audience.
As long as the audience are happy. Neil, you happy with that?
As long as-
Yes. But I can't interrogate Brazil now anyway, so it has to wait.
Cool. So, I presume we're turning down that corridor that Brazil indicated. Yep.
Yep.
It is a very similar corridor. It's a bit shorter than the other one, and again, it just turns around to the right at the end. But there's at least one very important difference to this. There are no normal doors on it. Instead, on the left-hand side of the corridor, there is one very large, very solid-looking, I want to say kind of not plexiglass because that's thin, but a very large, like a viewing window. You know, when a particular kind of room is just one side of it is an entire window for you to look through, and on one side of it is a very solid-looking glass and metal door with a very complicated-looking code pad or touch pad next to it. The first thing that occurs to you is there are people in there, and they are very aware that you're there.
Cool.
The room as a whole, let's describe it all for you. So it's this wall is taken up with a very large window onto some kind of operations room. It's dimly lit with a lot of computers and whiteboards in it. All the latter have been cleaned, and a man is walking around the room turning off all the computers. Other men and women, some are in lab coats, others in office gear, stand or sit around. They are looking out at you with a mixture of fear, apprehension, curiosity, and fury. One man among all of them stands out to you. He's a large, fairly muscular man in his late middle years. He's sitting to one side and gazing out at you with an unreadable expression. His deep, well-groomed beard and turban mark him out as perhaps of the Sikh faith, and one hand is resting on a table on which sits an assault rifle.
Ugh.
They are making no move. Kind of, you know, they seem to feel at least somewhat secure.
Rosa Barway's not in there, is she?
No.
Right.
How many
then it's
people
not
are
a problem.
There are,
Lots.
yeah, there are. If you're counting the larger gentleman, there are 13 people in there.
Whoa.
It's a
Okay.
very large room, and yeah.
And they're all watching us. Okay.
Mhm. Cool.
I think we need someone who can get this.
We don't have to
open.
go in there.
Do we not?
No.
Okay. Well,
I
at
mean,
least
Rosa, like, our job isn't to go and kill everyone. And, you know, what do you think, Alex?
Well, they do know what we look like, and part of the reason security footage was presumably destroyed was to prevent such a thing from happening.
Mm.
It would seem that it may not be part of our mission today, but our mission in general has to involve the elimination of the Inquisition.
Let's at least let Brazil know.
Yeah.
Sure. Is anyone in particular popping back to tell Brazil?
I will. Because it also
Okay.
gives me a chance to interrogate.
Sure. As you start stepping towards where the corridor turns round again, you hear a soft ding of an elevator opening. can everyone who has Sense the Unseen, which I think is just Oscar, can you give me a Sense the Unseen roll, please?
Okay. That's, I think, 4 dice. I don't know the difficulty. I got 2 successes.
Yep. You have never felt anything like this before. You feel something shift, and it's around you and through you and everything surrounding you. It is almost impossible to describe the sensation. A cross between deja vu and sudden what would you the conditional dizziness? What's it called? Vertigo. A cross between deja vu and vertigo. Everything, not visually, but just seems to rotate slightly before stopping again. You have a weird sensation of not being in the same place you were a moment before. Alex, you round the corner. The corridor is there. You cannot see Brazil. You cannot see an elevator. Instead, at the end, you see the corridor turning to the right. And as you watch, a man strides into the corner. You recognize him instantly. Fairly large man, older, greyish white, clean-cut beard and crew cut. Isidore Gassang is standing there, looking very calm, straight at you. Your coterie mates are presumably behind you. Oscar, are you visibly kind of dizzied, or?
I think I'm visibly dizzied, and also I say something's wrong, something's weird. We're not where we are.
What?
Alex,
sounds like something Alex would say.
Do you say anything out loud?
I will just say, I don't even know what pithy thing to say, I must confess. I'll just say, we have company.
Arthur and Mandrel, I would say that Oscar is currently not in a state to be doing it. Can you give me a wits plus awareness roll, please? Difficulty 2. In which case, I guess if your pool is 4, I'm willing to let you take half.
Yeah, my pool is 5, so yes.
My pool is not
Sure.
2, and I get 0 successes.
Okay. Arthur, you had kind of turned to see Alex go over there and to see Oscar. You turn back. The window isn't there anymore. You're just in one long corridor that turns to right at the end. At the end of it stands Isidore Gassang.
Oh. Mandrel?
There is a turn to the right of you as well. Basically, everyone is now in you're not together, but everyone is a corridor that turns to the right at the end. If this sounds like it's something out of Escher, yes, you've got the right impression.
Fuck.
The only way out is through. Come on. You have to move. We have a job to do.
Yes, and we should do so swiftly and in the opposite direction.
Sure. So you're going to take whichever for you is the turn away, leading you away from Gassang, right? Mm-hmm. So yes. Alex is going to turn back towards the others, and the others are presumably going to turn back towards Alex. And don't worry too much about the geometry of this.
Okay, sure.
But you're moving away from him, correct?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
All 4 of you turn into a new corridor together. At the end of it, a turn to the right, and Isidore Gassang stands there.
What is behind us?
You sure you want to look?
They're messing with our heads. I guess I turn, but if Arthur doesn't.
I think I will.
Okay. Behind you, I mean, I've described it several times already.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
whichever version of Gisang you are looking at starts to stride slowly forward. He has an expression on his face of quite intense concentration, and his fists are kind of clenched together as he walks forward towards you. And in fact, why doesn't everyone give me again a wits plus awareness roll, please? Let's say difficulty 3. If you have 6 or more, I'm happy for you to take half.
So can I use heightened senses for this?
Yes.
I got 2 successes.
1 success.
I only have 2 successes. Good willpower.
4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alex, Gisang has a single bead of blood kind of dribbling slowly down from his nose into his closely cropped white beard. As he steps a bit closer to you, let's say, I think we've got time within the session and this scene for what actions do we want to take, if any? It's fine to say none.
I think I aim a gun at
Sure.
him, at one of the ones that I can see.
Sure.
I wish to create an illusion of a sound. I don't know if this will work exactly using chemistry, but basically a sound of as if something is in his ear, or as I'm kind of assuming that he's got a speaker in his ear, basically saying, "It's an illusion. It's not them." To try and distract him.
Sure. Well, why don't that sounds like it's going to be the most prominent action to take. But we'll ask Mandrill and Arthur, are you taking any action as well? And also, Alex, can you let me know? Presumably, there is a difficulty set by capability for resistance.
So there's 2 elements. Firstly, it's a difficulty against composure plus wits.
Right.
So whatever you decided that is.
Halved or halved or composure
it's an
plus
opposed
wit.
roll, so they would. So if you want to halve the difficulty,
sure.
roll.
Yeah.
If they fail it, they lose their next action, and if they whether they pass or fail, they get 2 dice penalty to whatever the next action is as well.
Sure.
So
absolutely.
they still get a negative effect even if I don't beat the difficulty, basically.
Sure. Absolutely. Well, your difficulty is going to be 5.
Cool. I am blood surging because, of course, I am.
Classic.
Oh wow! On 7 dice, I had 2 successes. I'm going to willpower it because I live once. 5 successes.
Yes.
Okay.
And I passed my rouse strength as well.
Oscar draws his gun. Mandrill, Arthur?
I think shooting, yeah.
I am facing. I think I'm facing one separate one, and I'm just going to shout, "Leave us alone!" with dominate. I'm sure that'll do fantastic things.
Well, let's go through the motions with the dominate as well. What role do you have to make, and how is it opposed?
So I need to do manipulation plus dominate, which is...
Here is information for you, because dominate is not resisted by mortals in V5. Is that correct?
Unresisting mortals is not resisted. So if they're aware of it. I'm sorry, unprepared mortals. So a prepared mortal.
All right. Okay, sure.
And it's versus intelligence plus resolve. And I do
5.
a rouse check for it.
So it's 5.
Okay. I fail the rouse check, but fine. And that is... I'm going to willpower. 5 successes.
Okay. Let's make this... I do not wish to stomp all over your correct dice rolls, your well-made dice rolls. But there is a reason why these things are happening. But I still want to give you... I want to give you a chance to escape the looms of fate that the storyteller has woven together.
That evil storyteller.
why don't you give me what are your respective willpowers?
You mean do you mean undamaged?
Yeah, let's say undamaged.
2.
4.
I have
4.
5.
Okay.
one remaining. Yeah.
1 remaining. The people firing bullets don't matter. So Arthur and Alex, can you give me a willpower roll, please? And tell me if you completely succeed.
What's the difficulty?
Whatever your
As in
willpower is.
4.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So if everyone is a success.
No.
And so is a willpower roll undamaged willpower?
Correct.
Yes.
Only 2.
Yes, with criticals.
You do. Okay. What was it you said to him precisely?
Leave us alone.
I think you said Lee. Well, yeah. It is.
No, I said leave us alone.
You're right. I'm wrong.
Okay. He strides forward towards you. Alex, you see him kind of reach up with one clenched fist, and he does kind of unhook the communicator, the earpiece that you supposed he'd have. He unhooks it and it dangles down, and you see he locks eyes with you, and just like a curled smile on the side of his face, he knows what you did, and clearly, even though it should have worked as far as you are concerned, you felt the illusion take hold and come to reality, or faked reality. Arthur, you meet his eyes and you say, leave us alone, I believe was the thing.
Yep.
For a moment, he stops. And there is a pause. And as that pause happens, everything judders around you. Like it almost feels like the corridor rotates and clicks into place. And for a brief flash, you can see the elevator behind him, an elevator which has several Second Inquisition operatives armed with assault rifles stepping out aiming for you. And then it's not so much that the whatever he did comes back into place, but you see the two things kind of overlaid on top of each other. He takes another step forward and says, a good trick, but it is too late. I would advise you to stay calm. Let go. You may be damaged if you do not. The sun is rising, friends. You don't know how it could be, because as far as you were concerned, it was at least 3 or 4 hours from dawn. But you can feel the sun rising outside. You can feel the slumber falling upon you. And as the world kind of spins, as you each crash to the ground and your senses dim, the last thing you're aware of is Isidore Gassang resuming his slow, careful stride towards you.
Oh man.
I think we'll leave the session there.
Yeah.
Shall we?
Fair.
Shall we? Shall we?
We're in some trouble.
Pulling those die rolls out and fucking with my scene at the last minute, though.
I love doing that.
Oh,
In case you're worried that I
Points.
stepped over your agency, there is a reason why it didn't fully work. I assure you.
Yes.
I believe you.
Or maybe it has worked. Maybe he's leaving us alone.
Maybe he's just going to wander off. He's just going to wake up in that corridor like, oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, everything was
Sure.
fine.
So thanks for watching, folks. If you've got any comments or questions, pop them into the chat and Steve will flag them up for us to talk about. Otherwise, let's do a wee bit of promo. There's a bunch of links down below. Twitch, YouTube, you watching on one, check us out on the other. Social media, Discord, Patreon, you know how all those things work. Go check them out. We run 3 weekly series. Mondays is Call of Cthulhu, Tuesdays is Vampire, Wednesdays is Simbaroom. They all start at 8 o'clock in the evening BST. Come join us for them. We're also currently running a fortnightly series over on the Free League Publishing Twitch. That's on Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock BST. That's also Simbaroom. And we run monthly one-shots on the first Saturday of every month. A bunch of the VODs from those are over on our YouTube. I think that's everything. That's
Did
everything.
you say that the Sunday Simba Room session is only every fortnight?
I think I said fortnightly, but I didn't say which fortnight. We started it this past Sunday, so it's another week and a half before the second session. So that will be on May the 23rd. May the 23rd. Lovely.
May the 23rd be with you.
May the 23rd be with us. We had a new follower today, Ray Tracer. Thank you very much.
Oh, man.
No comments or questions for now. Yeah. I suppose a brief comment for my players, which they may prefer to address post-stream. What the hell's with Isidore Gassang, huh?
Yeah, seems like a bit of a shady fellow.
Or the opposite of the fact.
I think it's that we're the shady ones.
Yeah. I think he's anti-shady.
It's true. It's one of these things where you pull these things out.
Are we
of
the
various...
baddies?
Oh, yes. If you... a storytelling game of personal horror. Am I the baddie? So it's one of these funny things when you play with kind of experienced World of Darkness people and you're like, I'll pull kind of this element out of the splat and put this in and kind of build the world, and then like that in the back of someone's head they're like, oh, it's one of them.
Except I have no idea. I'm a total newbie.
Well, thank you for watching, everyone. Thank you, Steve, for stream managing. Thank you to the players for playing, and we hope you'll join us next week for what will be the finale of our current run of London Ascendant. So thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye.